Well, hello, everyone. It's your girl, Gabrielle. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. So, today is another special episode of Hot Topics. We are live streaming right now because we are continuing our homeschooling week, so to speak. Um, Depending on when you're watching this, on December 16, 2021, we had our second Homeschooling 101 virtual panel. It did pretty well. And thank you for all those who attended, by the way. And if you still want to watch the if you want to watch the replay, yeah, you can. You can watch the replay right now. It is playing on our Facebook page and it is playing on our YouTube channel. So definitely check it out if you haven't seen it already. But yeah, so we are continuing our theme, which is homeschooling. So, of course, naturally, the title of this episode is, let me get my little banner here, Homeschooling, Part 4. You can see the other 3 parts again on our YouTube channel and on Facebook. So we're continuing this theme of homeschooling. We wanted to get this message out there and definitely share this information. And of course, information is gold. So we definitely want to share this information with you. So if you're not familiar with our web series, this is the web series where we talk real talk about things that are steamy. So things that are steamy in education, employment, physical health, mental health, finance, the world around us, current events, everything that we like to talk about in our purview. Of course, we like to stay in our zone, but whatever we like to address, we like to do deep dives into it. And we like to get real and we like to get steamy. So that's what this web series is all about. And I look forward to having this conversation about homeschooling again. And I am going to talk about my guest for today. And I forgot her little banner, but her name is Diana Kluwin. And let me just make her banner real quick. Diana Kluwin. Okay, there it is. So let me talk about my guest who is going to help me with this conversation. I have yet another person who wants to talk about her homeschooling journey, and I am so looking forward to this conversation, and I hope you are too. So my guest today is Diana Kluwin, and I am going to tell you a little bit about her. So, who is Diana Kluwin? Let me tell you who she is. Diana Kluwin is the founder and head of Willow Ridge Academy with 16 years of homeschooling experience, specializing in encouraging families to exit government educational institutions. Diana is also a certified instructor with the Institute for Excellence in Writing, copyright, equipping students to be confident communicators, writers, and thinkers. Diana believes children are never behind schedule because they learn at their own pace and in their own way. They are special and uniquely made, and they should be treated as such. Diana will continue to provide an environment where parents are free to educate. In her free time, Diana can be found at the stables with a cup of coffee and a good book in hand, while her youngest rides her black beau, Wonder. It's so romantic. All right, so I'm going to bring her to the stage right now. Hi, Diana. How are you doing today?
I am well. I love you. You are so cute. I'm cracking up over here with this. It's so romantic.
Yeah,
only it was that Girl Amaretts every day.
Of course, of course. All right, so let's do it. I'm looking forward to hearing your homeschooling journey. So please delve right in.
Well, our homeschooling journey pretty much started similar to what people are going through today with COVID. We were kind of forced into it. We had our oldest, we had moved, my husband and I had moved school districts, and the new school district, we went from a school district with, they were number one in the district, to a different district with number one in the district as well. And we quickly realized that just because they say number one in the district does not mean that they're getting equal education from both of those top district schools. And so my son was we moved into this school system and he was just really struggling. So we put him in a private school, and with money we did not have. So we put him in this private school. He flourished the first couple years, and then we just kind of hit a roadblock. And the teacher, kind of convinced us that he had a bunch of learning disabilities. And so my husband and I were single income family. He is active duty military at the time. And we fork out over $1,000 of money to get our son tested, because we were basically convinced that there was something wrong with him and that he couldn't comprehend things that he was told, and that he must have a lot of learning disabilities. So we went through this exhaustive process of getting him tested, and the overall outcome of that was basically we felt like, okay, well, the school that we're forking out $700 a month to with 6 kids in the class no longer they don't have the time to work with him. So we would have to pay outside of the school to have assistance. Well, how many hours in a day does one person have? And I'm watching my son when I work with him at his homework for 4 hours a day for a 4th grader, which is insane, completely insane. I'm working with him and I'm not seeing these struggles. I'm seeing him just need me to explain it, take about 2 extra minutes a day to explain the curriculum to him in a way that he can understand it. And so my husband and I had long conversations about, gosh, what are we going to do? We can't afford all of this testing. I'm not seeing what the teacher is apparently seeing. I don't believe that he has comprehension problems. I believe it's just a way of communication. I think there's a communication break that the teacher cannot communicate to him in the way that he understands, or either she's not capable of it, or she didn't want to put the effort in, or didn't know how to, whatever it might be. So my statistical military husband decided to do quite a bit of research, and kind of came home to me and was, you're spending 4 hours a day with him. I really think we should homeschool him. And I just was like, are you insane? No, no. I have a background in a very lucrative sport, and my interaction with homeschoolers was when I was a child. And this interaction was very much like, yeah, no, I don't want my children to end up this way, which was very different than the truth. Those were a select few of homeschoolers. They were not this all norm, right? Everybody's different. There's great ones, there's bad ones, whatever. So we decided that we would kind of give this homeschool little research. And my husband, I'm so thankful for him, because, he addressed the benefits of it, but he also addressed his concerns in me. Like, is this something that you can follow through on? Are you going to be able to follow through? Like, I'm concerned that you're going to start and in a month you're going to give up. And I know some people are like, oh my gosh, that's so mean. But it really wasn't. I mean, we had a very truthful discussion about our concerns. Like, this is a huge change for our family, for me to homeschool. And at the time, we only had our one son. And then we had a baby. And I had 2 kids at home. So we ended up deciding to bring him home And within all of the struggles, we had a lot of struggles. We really didn't know a lot of homeschoolers. I did not take the time to really research. We just kind of jumped in really fast without a lot of thought on my process of like, hey, are there groups that I can have some support? I didn't even think to look there. So needless to say, our first year was very difficult. We had a lot of tears, my son and I, because my husband was deployed. I'm still like, yeah, first year, husband's gone. Great. But we pressed on. We had one curriculum, one person that told us, like this was the curriculum to do, and don't, just use it and go forth and do good things. And we cried a lot. We had a lot of nights that my son and I just kind of held each other and just cried because it was hard. We didn't have anyone and it was new. But through those struggles and through those tears, we really got to know each other. And I got to know how he likes to learn. I learned so much about him. And I feel like even though that was a scary year for us and a tear-filled one, at the end of it, we saw an abundance of fruit. Like we saw an abundance of fruit produced. And I say that because I doubted myself so much that I said, okay, let's go get him tested. I want to get him tested to make sure that I have not hindered him. And my husband was like, well, how do you not know like what he was learning? You were working with him. And I said, oh no, I know. And I really feel where the curriculum failed him. And I know where he struggles now. And now I know that I can help him. But I really want that validation of, okay, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Because I doubted myself. The whole world tells you you're incapable of educating your children. So I let that lie sink into my head. And I just kept going and kept going and kept going. And we had him tested. And we got the results. And I remember the first time actually crying tears of joy instead of tears of frustration, because everywhere that I felt he was having a little bit of a hard time is exactly what the test told me. And all the places that I felt he was succeeding, that test told me. And it wasn't about him being a success. That's not why I had him tested. I tested because I wanted to put myself to the test and see if I really am not capable of doing this. Can I truly do this? And I look back on it now and I think that was the stupidest thing, because like nobody needs to tell you you're capable or incapable of being a parent to your child. Like that's my child. But I needed it then. And he actually tested higher than he did from the private school. And so it was just kind of for me, we're a family of faith. So it was for me, God kind of going, quit doubting yourself. You got this. So now my daughter knows nothing but homeschool. So my son's been in everything, public, private, and homeschool. And now my daughter, she's my youngest. She's a junior in high school now. She might graduate early. And we're loving it. I wouldn't go back. So that's the short version of our homeschooling entry.
Well, thank you so much for that. So in our preliminary interview, you brought up the costs of private school compared to homeschooling. Do you mind going into that a little bit, or a lot, or however much you wish to share?
Well, so for us, we did public school. It was free. It was free in the sense it was out of pocket, but it cost a lot as far as just not being the right education for our child. And then we went into private school, which was, now mind you, my son is 24 now. Okay. So please don't do the math and find out my age, but he is 24 now. We graduated him. He's off of the work field, has a desire to become a chiropractor. And we're just, he's working full time, and we're just really proud of the decision that he has made. But back then, when he was in 5th grade, it was like $700 a month for a private education that really was not addressing my son's needs. So we went from $700 a month to the first year, which was my most expensive. So I just want to let you guys know, I bought the curriculum my friend told me to buy. She wasn't even really like a friend. She was just somebody I knew that homeschooled. And I bought her curriculum, and that curriculum cost me $1,300 for the entire year. That included all my lesson plans, all of my textbooks, all of my son's reading books, everything the teacher needed, like a 3-ring binder like this. It was just like filled with papers and tabs, and like everything was done for me. So I went from $700 a month to $1,300 a year. And that really was my most expensive, probably until this year, maybe last year. And that's only because I chose to spend more money. So homeschooling is really beautiful financially. Don't let people tell you, oh, well, it's so expensive. It's really not. I don't look at my child as an expense. I look at my child as an investment. I'm investing in my child's future, and you can invest in different ways. So you don't have to invest a ton of money. There are curriculums out there that you can get for free. You can borrow curriculum from people, or you can go and, spend thousands of dollars if you want to. It's really up to you, the parent. You are in full control of your budget and how much you spend. And I know for like the next 5 years after that, I know that I was homeschooling, and each year it was less and less expensive. So the only reason why now it's a little more expensive is because we chose to dual enroll my daughter with a private university. And so those courses are a little bit more expensive. But we have the finances now to do it where we wouldn't have back then. But my children were successful regardless of what the dollar amount was for the curriculum. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. And just a quick note, I see we have some viewers. So this is live, and you are welcome to leave any questions or comments in the chat for those of you watching right now. And if you have any questions for our guest, please feel free to ask them, because this is an interactive episode. So, Diana, you brought up dual enrollment for your daughter. I find that interesting that you didn't just stick strictly to homeschooling. Do you mind going into that?
Sure. I don't think it's a step away from homeschooling to dual enroll. Traditional homeschooling, is the parent is in 100% authority of their child's education. What that means is I pay the bill, I make the choices, I decide what my child learns. And we felt that, hey, let's dual enroll. It is possible for your homeschooler to graduate high school with an AA through dual enrollment. And so depending on what your child's future is, that's what you should make your decisions on. So I'm not relinquishing authority by dual enrolling. I'm not pulling away from homeschooling because I'm dual enrolling. Dual enroll is a way for me to help my student get ready if they choose to go to college. So my philosophy is prepare your children for college, but encourage them to go to a trade school or go, whatever their passion is. But I'm always going to prepare my child for more than maybe what they want. So that way, no matter what, they change. They want to do something, one day they want to be an FBI agent. And the next day they want to be, like a supermodel or something. So they change their minds. And so I want to make sure that no matter where their mind goes and what choices they choose to make as they get older, that they're prepared for the world. So yeah, we've liked dual enrolling, short classes, and you get your high school credit and your college credit all at the same time. So we feel that it's a really good benefit for our family. And it might work for another family and it might not. That's the beauty of homeschooling.
So tell me how you organize your day then, or how your daughter organizes her day for the dual enrollment.
Well, so dual enrollment, they meet once they don't even really meet. It's all done online now. So she just is very independent. So our typical day, we don't really start any academia until probably 10 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, in the morning, sorry. I don't know what time of day it is. 10 o'clock in the morning. So that gives us our whole morning for whatever we need. So those are life skills. That's, she's straightening up a room, getting things together, feeding all of the animals that we have, anything that needs to be done, laundry, breakfast, Bible time. And then we have my sweet husband built us a one-room schoolhouse in our backyard. So we come out to the schoolhouse about 10 o'clock in the morning. And then she gets started typically with her math. That is the one thing that has been a struggle for her to get complete and to really do an assignment every day. So she starts with that. She starts off with the one thing that she has a hard time completing in the beginning of the day. And then she really is at this point, as a high schooler, she's 100% independent. I rarely have to do any instruction or keep on her. And so she just works the process. She looks at her lesson plan. I use an online lesson plan creator, and it's mapped out for the entire year. So she just goes in, sees what her assignments are, and she works through the process. Now, her dual enrollment courses, those have really strong due dates. So we just kind of make sure that her and I communicate on a weekly basis. How are you doing? Because I want you to be accountable to turning those in on time. And then anything, for me or your other studies, those are secondary, just because in the homeschooling world, you do have a little bit more flexibility. But your college doesn't follow your personal, time schedule. So you want to honor that instructor. So I make sure that she honors that instructor well, and that she always turns in those assignments. And it's just a matter of communication. And then we're typically done about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And she has about 6 to 7 courses that she takes. And then we usually break somewhere in between for lunch. We usually take an hour lunch together. And then if she needs like a little, mental break or whatever, she'll just go out and play with the dogs for a couple minutes, or, go do something in the house. But she's very independent. I don't have to plan out my whole day for her. Thank you, Jesus.
Awesome. So what do you say to people that say, parents weren't trained to be teachers? The teachers went through the actual certification and testing and all that, and you just kind of assume the role. So what do you say to people that challenge your skills?
Well, first off, it's really trying to educate people to understand that there's not one way to educate. Parents are also, I'm sorry, but homeschooling education is an extension of parenting. So you can learn all you want, every subject, and get certified. And somebody says, yes, you're a master in that subject, but you'll never be a master in my child. You'll never know my child the way that I do. So I think you can't teach a teacher, and I love teachers, don't get me wrong. Like, I have nothing against public school teachers at all. Private school teachers, I don't have anything against them, but they're never going to be able to put the amount of time and effort to knowing my child and how my child learns as I will. It's far easier for me to learn alongside my child and teach my child how to learn on their own. So me not knowing a subject is not the issue. I can learn any subject. We all have the capability of learning. Sometimes it takes a little longer for some than others. And these are skills that we want to teach our children. We want them to know that, hey, you don't have to rely on other people to teach you everything. You can go ahead and pick up that book and learn on your own. You can research the internet. You can go to the library. You can talk to people who've experienced that on your own, and you can educate yourself. So I think it's a lie that the world wants to tell parents, is that they're constantly incapable, and they're not. Parents are the most capable. They are the best educators for their children. No one loves their children more than a mom and a dad. And we'll invest and we'll sacrifice the most for our kids. So I don't want parents to believe that lie that they're not capable. Their worst day is better than the public schools or the private schools' best day. And I proved that to myself. And I know that parents who are homeschooling now know that their worst day is far better than anything or anyone else educating their child.
Interesting. So can you go into how you structured the homeschooling with both of your children? Was it just you and your husband? Did you do a co-op? Did you hire a tutor? Can you get into how you structured the homeschooling?
Sure, absolutely. So our first year, obviously, I didn't know about all of those beautiful things called co-ops and support groups. So I was on my own. And I found ways to get my son out of the house, and we did extracurricular activities. My daughter came along. My children are very far apart in years. They're 8.5 years apart. So they're very different. Almost both of them have kind of been almost raised as single children for a long time. But once we became educated in knowing, right, you don't know what you don't know. So when we found out there were these groups called co-ops, we definitely invested in that. And co-ops have their pros and cons, just like everything else in the world. So it's worth looking into. You may find a co-op that's great for your family. You may find one that's not. But we structured ourselves around a 4-day school week. So that way we had that 5th day was our co-op day. So we didn't plan any school on our 5th day. That was our co-op. Typically out here in California, a lot of the co-ops at the time that, my children were doing them were on Fridays. And so we just still to this day do not school on a Friday, even if we're not a part of a co-op. So we would do Monday through Thursday school and go to co-op on Friday, and whatever extracurricular. My son played golf like 3 times a week. That was his sport of choice in the beginning. My daughter is a horseback rider, so she's at the barn all the time. So I was driving around probably as much, if not more than some of the public school moms were, because we just had more opportunity to get our kids exposed to a whole bunch of different things. My son at the time was in Boy Scouts. My daughter currently is in American Heritage Girls. So we had the ability to go out and do those things. We were the primary educators. I only outsourced to co-op, which basically was 1 day a week in whatever class I saw fit. We did with my oldest kind of do a hybrid, but that's a whole nother conversation. And I don't recommend it. I like homeschooling my kids, and I liked getting together with other friends. And then that's how our business came about. Was I had a skill that the moms needed, just like some of them had a skill that I needed. I am not a science-minded mama. I don't like science. I would love it if I never had to read a science book a day in my life. But I had moms who loved science and would do labs with my kids. And I would teach their kids how to write. And I would teach, English, language arts. I would teach them grammar. I would teach them writing. We would discuss vocabulary. I would teach them how to edit their work. So, it takes a village. We had that opportunity to do that. And they morph as you go on. These opportunities just create themselves sometimes.
Awesome. So you mentioned that you are a woman of faith, and your family is of faith. So I'm wondering, how much did that play into your decision to homeschool?
Oh, that's a great question. So I am a vastly different homeschool mom today than I was when I started. When I started, it was really, if I'm going to spend 4 hours a day tutoring my son, I might as well just homeschool him. It was very much, a flip it attitude. It was not, at the time, I did not see it as God working in me. Now I look back and I realize that the only way I was ever going to do it is when I felt like somebody else was failing my child. And I got a little cocky. So I think God provided that opportunity for us. But the homeschooling mom that I am today is, I know for a fact that this is like what God wants for our family. And I know that he's called me to do this. And I feel because we are a faith-based family, I get the opportunity to really make sure that what my child is learning aligns with our faith. I don't have to have that contradictory conversation. I don't have to have my son come home and tell me something that we know is not true, I have to kind of like break this down because somebody else has instilled an ideology in him that I don't want him to agree with. I don't mind my children knowing different beliefs, but I want them to know the truth. And so that's how we present everything to our children, is that, everything is biblical for us. We do present the Bible as our primary resource. That was not how I started, but I have grown. I've grown in my faith. I've grown in homeschooling, and I want my children, I'm more concerned about my child's character than I am about their chemistry test. And so I want my children, my biggest want and desire for them is not to be a doctor or a lawyer. I want them to be that person when they see a homeless person who's hungry, that they just kind of walk into McDonald's and buy the person a meal and just tell them that God loves them. I want, when my children have friends that are hurting, that they will cry with them and that they will be encouragers to them. And those are things that nobody but their parents can teach them. It's not putting anyone else down, but that's our role as a parent, is to just really mold our children to just be good adults, great humans. And I want my children to be good stewards.
Awesome. So now I'm wondering about how your children's peers saw them as homeschoolers. Like how did their friends see your children, if my words are coming out right? Basically,
Yeah.
how was the relationship with their peers, and how did their peers react to them being homeschooled, if they knew at all?
Yeah, it wasn't really like, oh, that's weird. That just really wasn't the feeling. Most of the time the kids were a little envious just because my kids didn't have to get up at 5:30 in the morning. They didn't have to get up at 6:00 and be out the door at a specific time. My kids were sleeping in. I have one that is an early riser, one that stays up late. So I really feel like they didn't struggle with friends. In fact, I think they were a little bit, and they still are, a little bit more cautious or inquisitive to picking the right friends. I know my daughter, as she's 16, she's 5'9". She's very tall. She's always been the tallest. And really, the way that people look to her is, a lot of the girls in her like American Heritage Girls troop look up to her because she is kind. And she loves everybody. She's not cliquey. She's not a bully. She's, just who she is. And she loves other people. So I don't think I think people have this stigma that like homeschooling kids are like really weird. And some of them are, but so are public school kids. Like we all have weird people. But I think the diversity that's been there, we're a very outgoing family. And the fact that some homeschooling families aren't, they're a little more introverted, that allowed us to really learn more about other people too. So I don't see anything like, I never saw anything negative. I saw more so probably they wish they could be my kids, because they outside, they thought they had it easier. And my son would be the first person to be like, you don't know my mama. Like, don't. Like, there were times where he's like, can you please send me to public school? Because they were way easier on me than you are.
Oh, man. I can imagine that.
No, I'm serious. Like there were times where he was like, please, mom, can you send me there? They're like so much easier on me. I'm like, no, not going to happen. I'm like, this is a mama you got. This is a mama that's going to raise you.
So now that leads me to my next question. I guess my concern about homeschooling is it's like the home life and the school life are merged together. So how does the child differentiate between you, the mom, and you, the teacher? And um if how do I explain it? Like if if you're grounding them, for example, are you grounding them as the teacher or as the mom? And is it like, oh, you didn't do your homework, so you're well, I don't know how you are with discipline, but just I guess this kind of my concern about it is how do you separate you, the mom, and you, the teacher?
That's a great question. And you don't, because education is an extension of parenting. So as parents, we have this already natural tendency to teach our kids. I mean, we teach them how to walk. We teach them, about the color, right? I mean, I taught my child colors. I don't know. I'm pretty sure every parent has taught their child what color is red. So we are constantly teaching them. And I just want to give a shout out to all the mamas who are in that potty training field. If y'all can do that, you can homeschool. So good on you. But it's not separate. And, but that's how the world has kind of categorized, right? There's parents and then there's teachers. No, they're one and the same. It is literally an extension of parenting. We are constantly training our children. We are constantly disciplining them. And discipline is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Like that is an extension as my faith. That is discipling. I'm discipling my child. So there is no separation for us. It is mom, dad is dad, and it is what it is. So it's not difficult. And I'm, like some people have accused me of being too strict. And I'm like, well, no, there's no such thing. So we do discipline. I mean, we're a military family. So we are very much, like A, B, and C. Like this is how it goes. But it's not without grace. It's not without love. And all of those things go hand in hand. We're a family. We don't put parts of us in a box.
Interesting. So in so in your entire experience with homeschooling, did you ever have any doubts or self-doubts or something like, maybe any regrets about it or any there's those feelings that haunt you? So did you have anything like that in your experience?
Well, sure. I'm human. We all have that. I mean, I've been homeschooling for 16 years and there are days that I still doubt. Like there are days where I will doubt my ability. I will doubt that I'm making the right decisions. But that's not the truth. And so for me, because my faith is so strong, I know that that's the enemy's way of trying to crush the goodness that is happening in our family through this avenue of homeschooling. But yeah, I mean, everybody's going to struggle. We're all going to doubt ourselves. I mean, it's human nature to think that we can't do some things, right? And we can't. There are some things we cannot do. There are some things that we cannot replicate. I mean, I'm not going to be able to have this gigantic, football field for my son to play football. I mean, it's just, I can't do that. Okay. So how do we get him to play football? You get to learn how to do things differently. And absolutely, I mean, you're never not going to struggle. Homeschooling is not perfect. It's not easy. You are going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. But the one thing that should keep us all going is that even in those struggles, our kids are going to flourish and we're going to get to know them in such a way. I have amazing relationships with my children and we've had some really tough struggles. We've had some some, pretty hard things happen as a family, but I get to walk with my child through that. And I get to learn with them, and I get to just be their encourager. I get to, I'm never going to go to my grave thinking I haven't spent enough time with my kids, because I've been with them the whole time. And I get to really just, sometimes it's really the coolest thing to be outside the fishbowl and just watching your child grow and just observing them and seeing the person that they're becoming minute by minute, day by day. So those moms who think that they're never going to struggle, or those moms that tell you that, oh, it's so easy, they're lying. It's not, but parenting isn't easy. It's not. It has great days. It's wonderful, but it's hard work. That's reality. And if a parent is willing to put that hard work in, those days of doubt and those days of struggle and those days of, this curriculum sucks and I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know why I'm using it, you can go, yeah, we're going to pitch it and we're going to try something else. So just know that no matter what you're doing, and no matter how many bad days you have, those are minor compared to the good days. And we shouldn't focus on those too much. We should learn from them and move forward. But yeah, I think I answered your question. Did I go off on a tangent on that one? I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So now another concern that I have is, I don't know. I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, I feel like they're being cut off from the world somehow.
Yeah.
And that it's just this bubble that you form around them, and they're in the home most of the day, and they don't know like current events. They don't know what's going on outside, because all they know is what you teach them. And they're kind of blocked off from their peers, or there's certain people, or they have predetermined friends, so it's, I guess that's a fear that I have is, these kids are being cut off from the world and they don't know what's going on around them, and all they know is their family, is their house. And so can you talk about that? Can you tell me why my fear is irrational, or maybe it's not irrational, or tell me to go to hell, whatever it is. You can help me understand, like, are they being cut off from the world around them, and only kind of isolating them from people and the world?
Yeah. And honestly, I can see where people would think that. I can see where parents, have that fear and have that concern. I think my counter to that, and I'm pretty snarky, so like I kind of call it like I see it, but there is a level of sheltering that is healthy. So cutting, I think we get concerned with cutting our children off from the world, but we want to do that sometimes. Like, we want to shelter them sometimes as parents. There's things on the TV I don't want my child to see there, and that's okay. But it's not a cut off from that social. Like, I think you're concerned of, like, are they going to get socialized? Are they going to be around their own peers? Well, my response is, I have a 16-year-old daughter. Have you seen some of the 16-year-old girls that are around the world? That's not who my daughter's going to hang out with for the rest of her life. They are children for a small amount of time, and the influences that I want for them are not necessarily society's version of a 16-year-old girl. And she's going to be an adult forever. So I want my children to be around all ages. I want them to have interaction with children younger than them, with children older than them. I want them to be able to be in a room with adults and be able to have a conversation. My children have been able to do that at a very young age, not because of homeschooling. That is not about education. That's about how you parent. So if you're that parent, that fear that you might have is that you're going to cut them off from the world, you're going to work exponentially harder to ensure that that does not happen. that's just going to be the thing that you're going to make sure, like, I don't want to cut them off from everything. Like, I don't want to do that. So you're going to provide them with the environment that you want in their life. My environment, how I choose to have them interact in the world, might look different than yours. But the fact is that you're going to do what's best for your children. So I never had my child, like, homeschooling's not, don't let the home part of the homeschool think that it's in home. My children have done education at the beach. We have done beach school days. We go to the beach with friends and everybody sits around and, oh, what's your latest literature book? Okay, you guys have to read, a couple chapters, go play in the water, come back. You have families who travel the world and homeschool. I've had friends who literally take their RV and go all to the national parks with their kids. So the things that you think are going to get cut off, in fact, are going to be even more available to you because you will have more of that time to do those things with your children. For current events, your current event concern, I think this is the best environment for those current events. Those current events you can speak into your child the way that you want to speak into your child about that current event. So it's hot topics. How hot topic can I go? Like,
Go as far as you want to go.
Oh Lord, girl, you just opened up a door. But like, okay, let's just take, for instance, what's happening in the world today. We've got COVID. All right. You have people divided on COVID and the issues of COVID. My personal belief on it might be different than yours. Let's sit down you get to sit down with your kid and talk to them about what's going on in the world. And you're not letting a whole nother entity or person sway them from your desire and your belief on this particular issue. So if you have them in the school, they might get current events, but they're going to get one side. They're not going to get both sides. They're not going to be able to have these discussions or opinions. I mean, we've seen it on YouTube, videos of people disagreeing with a teacher, and God forbid the student disagrees with the teacher and the teacher calls them names and bullies them. Like, that's not going to happen in your home. I would hope. I would think most parents are not going to do that to their children. They're going to go, oh, why do you think that way? Oh, I never thought about that. Well, can you back that up? Right? We're going to give them the ability to think. We're not going to tell them what to think. So these hot topics that happen, like in our family, yeah, COVID is a virus, but there's no fear in our family. None of us are afraid to get sick. Our family doesn't. Our family doesn't put a mask on. Like, that's just the way that it is. We haven't. But that's not for another person to tell my child to do that or not do that. Just like I would never tell your children to do something that goes against your family. But that can happen in a school. So you have the opportunity to do these things with these, hot topics, these things that are happening in the world. I mean, you can have these discussions with your children in such deep ways that they will grow and they'll be appreciative of the fact that mom and dad took the time to discuss those and let their opinions be heard. So it's just a different environment. It's not, you're never going to replicate the public school at home. I tried it and I failed because that's not how home works. That's not how the family, the nuclear family, the mom and the dad, that's not how it works. That's not how a single mom raises her kids and puts her schedule together. That is the public school, not the family, and whatever family that looks like. Did I answer that one too?
Yes, you did. Beautiful.
I'm trying. You're asking me some really good ones. I'm like, ooh, I like her.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that.
I hope it encourages you. I hope you don't have fear, because don't let the fear get you. If you know that this is the right thing to do for your family, girl, put your big girl panties on, get your cowboy boots on, and go for it. You will succeed. You love your babies more than anybody. You'll do it.
All right. Awesome. All right. I know we're having a lot of fun, but we got to start to wind things down. So do you have any final advice for the people watching? Any words of wisdom you'd like to share?
Sure. I would just say, don't live in fear. of stepping out into something that's not known to you. Homeschooling is a humongous blessing to your family. It's gonna open up probably some hard times. I mean, I see a lot of things right now happening on Facebook group pages where parents are like, this isn't working, or arguing all the time. And remember that it's not the academia. Just put it away. Get to know your kids. I mean, it's hard when you pull your kid out of a public school. They've been there for 8 hours a day. You're not there. You're not discipling them. You're not encouraging them. You're not scolding them when they're misbehaving. You're not able to do those things. And so now you're doing all of those things. Give yourself a break. I mean, mamas, you don't have to be perfect. All you got to do is just love your babies. And no matter how old they are, they're always going to be your babies. And you're always going to want what's best for them. I mean, mine doesn't even live at home anymore. And I still want to be that person that he calls when he needs a little advice. And I'm glad that he loves me enough to do that every once in a while. But yeah, just go easy on yourselves. You don't have to have all the answers day one. I've been doing it for 16 years and I don't have all the answers now. And that's okay, because you're never done learning, and you're going to learn right with your kids. Your kids are going to be okay. Your kids are going to be amazing adults. You're not holding them back. They're never behind. They're never ahead. They're exactly where they're supposed to be. They're exactly where God wants them. And if you love them and you just trust that you know what's really best for them, because you do. You know better than me. You know better than the world. You know better than any teacher that's been teaching them. You know what's best for your kids. So hopefully you can keep that as your mantra. I know what's best, and I love my babies. And if that's the only reason you're homeschooling, that's okay. That's all you need. That's the only reason you need, is that you love your kids.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for joining me today for this episode of Hot Topics. Let me put up your little banner here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, you guys, Diana Kluwin, her contact information is scrolling below right now. Visit her online or email her if you have any questions. And you have a business. Can you talk about your business?
Sure. So I started tutoring because, like I had said earlier, there was a need for language arts. I did not realize how many parents were struggling to teach their kids grammar, and how many parents really didn't understand some of the grammar rules, and they really felt like they were failing their kids, and they're not. I still have to look at the grammar rules, and I've been doing it a long time. So I started tutoring, and then that kind of morphed into when COVID started. Parents were immediately wanting to pull their kids out of school. Like, there was no questions asked. They needed help. So I started here in California. One of the ways to homeschool is you become your own private school. And some families don't want to do that. They would like to join what's called a PSP. So it's another private school. It's a private school satellite program. And so that's what I do. So I file that PSA, that private school affidavit, and I count them as part of our private school. And so I counsel them on how to lesson plan, how to choose the right curriculum for their family. Really, they're the lead, and I just kind of assist them and give them some ideas, because I don't ever want to tell a parent what they can and cannot do. They're the 100% authority. So I just want to encourage them to do what they think is best for their students. And then we help with transcripts. They get a diploma, they get a transcript here. We help them with college prep if that's what they want, because there's just so much to do. There's a lot of paperwork to do as they get older, and it can be a little bit daunting for some families. Administration is something that I like to do. I actually find joy in record keeping. So I will do that for other families, and we're growing. We have several online courses, and then we're opening up to in-person as well. And hopefully next year we'll have a lot more teachers and more classes that we can offer in person and online.
Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Think that is such great news. And, I wish you all the best for your business.
Oh, thank
And,
you.
fellow tutoring companies, it's all love here. So thank you for joining me today. Thank you for your kind words and your insights.
Mm.
And yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure meeting you and getting to know you. And I'll be praying for you. I don't want you to have any fear, girl.
All
You
right.
got it. You can
All
do
right. Thank
it.
you. Thank you so much. All righty. I'm going to put you backstage now. And you guys, it's just you and me. So I'm going to put up my little banner here. All right, so we have reached the conclusion of our episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please check out our social media for more videos and clips. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe and follow. Don't forget to follow. Let us know what you thought about this episode by leaving a comment in the comment section below. Whether you are watching this on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, please definitely leave us a note, drop a line, let us know what you thought about this episode. And as a reminder, we are A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. If you would like to learn more about us, you can find us online. Our website is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. And you can also check us out on our social media. Of course. So not only are we on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, but we are also on WhatsApp, Instagram, and Eventbrite. So definitely check us out. And one more thing before I run away. We are also seeking financial contributions to our crowdfunding campaign on ifundwomen.com. iFundWomen is the go-to funding marketplace for women-owned businesses and the people who want to support them with access to capital, coaching, and connections. So I am going to play a little video that will explain more about that.
Hey there, have you heard of us? We're a small team of tutors here at A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. We believe that education and information should be accessible to everyone, regardless of income, race, or creed. We're dedicated to making this happen, but we need your help. Please consider donating to our crowdfunding campaign. No amount is too small. Your donation will allow us tutors to remain employed, offer free and low-cost services, and reach out to families nationwide. With your help, we can tackle the academic challenges of our students and the emotional, mental, and behavioral changes that result from these challenges. As a bonus, we can improve our communities in the process. Support us today. We're a for-profit company. Your donation may not be tax deductible. Please consult a tax professional.
Yes. So any contribution you can make to our campaign is much, much appreciated, and no amount is too small. All right, so that is it for our episode. Thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to seeing you next time. Signing off.